Ready to start? Okay. We'll call to order the regular meeting for February 25th, 2025, Oregon City Historic Review Board. So call roll.
Board Member Lawrence.
Present.
Board Member Edgar.
Present.
Board Member Fulkerson.
Present.
Vice Chair Green.
Present.
Chair Powell.
Present. Okay, first on the agenda is there was a whole group of meeting minutes. One thing I did notice was the last one was Planning Commission. So do we want to exempt that one from this packet?
I don't see the Planning Commission.
I don't see that.
Let me see. Let me get
The
out.
last one in the list of,
Which date?
let's see here. It was the
Oh,
last one in the packet. I think it would be,
Yeah, it says 8/28/2006. If you
yeah.
click on it, it says Planning Commission.
so just exempt those. Okay, so I guess, do we have a motion to approve? To approve the Historic Review Board minutes. A second?
No, Chairman.
I move to approve the Historic Review Board minutes.
Second? Second. Okay, roll.
Board Member Lawrence.
Aye.
Board Member Edgar.
Aye.
Board Member Fulkerson. Aye. Vice Chair Green.
Aye?
Chair Powell.
Aye. Okay. So next on the agenda is public comments. I do have a comment card for Carla Laws. Is that in particular for the hearing tonight, or is this? Okay, so should we move that down?
Yep.
We'll move that down the line then till we open this public hearing. So we will open the public hearing now for GLUA 25-00001, HR 25-00001, alterations to construction of a previously approved duplex on land that is part of a designated landmark. So I will read the comments here that regard the following. This is a quasi-judicial land use hearing. So for that number that I just read, the public hearing on land use application are scheduled. Our role is to conduct the public hearing to make decisions about the matter before us. In making those decisions, we must apply the applicable codes and laws and cannot vary from or change those laws or codes. Members of the Historic Review Board are to be unbiased. Before the start of the hearing, I will ask board members whether they have any potential conflicts, such as family, financial, or business relationships with any of the applicants or with regard to the land in question. I will also ask whether any of the board members have discussed the application in question with any of the parties or have independent knowledge of relevant facts, such as from a visit to the site in question. Any member of the audience may question any board member about their disclosures. A staff report has been prepared for each application, has been made available to the public 7 days before the first public hearing. The staff report identifies the approval criteria that apply to each applicant's proposal. Staff has analyzed the criteria which are contained in the staff report. The quasi-judicial hearing procedure the board will follow is set out in state law and the Oregon City Municipal Code. The hearing procedure steps are shown on the chart. Anyone wishing to speak should fill out a speaker's card and email it to the planning staff before the hearing. Speakers will proceed in the order in which their card is received. You should fill out your address on the card so the city will notify you of its final decision. For the public record, please begin all testimony stating your name and city of residence. Testimony and evidence should be directed toward the applicable approval criteria. If you believe other criteria apply, in addition to those addressed in the staff report, identify and discuss those criteria and explain how and why you believe they should apply to the application under consideration. Any person may submit written materials while the public record is open on each application. Any written materials received by the city staff during the time period in which the record is open will be placed in the record. Written materials submitted during the public hearing must be presented to the city staff in order to become part of the record. If a person intends for PowerPoint presentations, reports, pictures, or other exhibits to be used in their oral testimony to be placed in the record, copies must be submitted to the city staff while the record is open. If they are not given to the staff, they will not be included in the record. Any person wishing a continuance to present additional evidence and testimony or to keep the record open to respond to new evidence must make that request before the public testimony portion of the hearing is closed. If the Historic Review Board makes a decision with which you disagree, any issue that you may wish to appeal must have been raised on the record for the consideration of the City Commission or recorded by minutes or otherwise, and to have a decision based on substantial evidence in the whole record consistent with state law and the Oregon City Municipal Code. Except for an applicant or applicant's representative, on rebuttal, no person offering testimony shall speak more than once without obtaining permission from the presiding officer. No person shall testify without first receiving recognition from the presiding officer and stating his or her name and city of residence for the record. There shall be no audience demonstrations such as applause, cheering, display of signs, or other conduct disruptive to the hearing. The presiding officer, board members, city manager, city attorney, and with the approval of the presiding officer, any other officer or employee of the city may pose questions any person who testifies. Any person entitled to participate in a hearing may also submit written testimony in addition to or in lieu of speaking before the board. So I will start by asking board members for disclosures, if any have visited the site, have ex parte contact, or any conflict of interest to declare. Maybe I'll start with Chair Powell.
Thank you. No, I have no conflict, no bias, and I have visited the site multiple times.
Okay, and Board Member Lawrence?
Familiar with the site, no ex parte conflict, and no bias.
Visited the site, no conflict of interest and bias.
And,
I have not visited the site, and I have no conflict of interest or bias.
okay, and I have visited the site, and no ex parte contact or conflict of interest. So with that, we'll go to staff presentation then.
Good evening, Vice Chair Green and board members. I'm Jude Tadeus, Assistant Planner here at the City of Oregon City, and wanted to start off by saying that planning staff would have ordinarily preferred to review this at the staff level. However, because the proposed solutions to the easement encroachment impact the conditions of approval that were brought forth by the Historic Review Board, we had to send this back to the Historic Review Board for further direction. To clarify, what we're reviewing today here is simply a resolution to an easement encroachment issue and the related conditions of approval to the original approval. Other already approved aspects of the project are not under review for this application. So we can, okay. Originally, this duplex project was approved in February 2024 under HR 24-001. And once approved, the property was sold to the current applicant who moved forward on building permits in July 2024. Upon review of the approved plan, Public Works discovered that the required 18-inch eave along the north side of the building encroached 18 inches into an existing 5-foot public utility easement for the gas line fronting Locust Street. Public Works doesn't permit such encroachments, and the applicant was then informed of the issue, which brings us here today. The applicant has proposed 3 solutions to correct the issue so that the building permit can move forward into construction. No other elements of the previously approved project are proposed to be modified or reviewed under this application. So we're just looking at the eve encroachment issue in the proposed solutions. I did want to note that significant modifications to the depth of the building as approved would greatly affect the structural design, and so that's why these particular solutions were brought forward. The applicant proposes one of 3 options. You can advance to the 3rd slide there. Move the structure south by 18 inches toward the Rasmussen-Buol house. Keep the structure's current plan position on the lot and the distance from the landmark, but cut the eave back so there is no encroachment. Or a combination of cutting the eave back the desired number of inches and moving the structure south by the balance of the necessary distance to eliminate the encroachment. No other deviations from the approved structure are necessary or proposed. And as I previously said, reducing the depth of the whole structure is not recommended because such an alteration would greatly impact the design. The site is located on a vacant lot on the southern corner of Locust Street and Molalla Avenue, just north of the Rasmussen-Buol house, located at 151 Molalla Avenue. HR 24-00001 approved the new duplex to be set back 9.5 feet from the southern property line, shared with that designated landmark, and 14.5 feet from the existing landmark itself. Moving the duplex 18 inches south would give the structure an 8-foot setback from the property line and a 13-foot setback from the existing landmark. The Rasmussen-Buol house is it's an existing house that kind of has a transition from vernacular to bungalow style incorporated into the look, and provides some street views of existing conditions, as well as the previously approved exterior elevations and relationship to the landmark. But I did want to mention, I think it's on slide 8, just to note that Historic Review Board conditions of approval required the duplex to be set back 26.5 feet from Molalla Avenue so as to not obscure the existing landmark, and the applicant's proposal still complies with this condition of approval. The applicant's not requesting any modification to this aspect, but the images here show are kind of deceiving in the structure setback from the landmark. So I did want to call that out. So essentially, option 1 is to move the whole structure south and move it to, in order to move the 18-inch eave as required by condition 3 of the original approval, fully clear of the gas line easement. And if we go to slide 12, we can take a look at slide 12 here. So that's the site plan with the structure moved back. And then if we go to the next slide, option 2 that the applicant has proposed, the applicant kind of provided a visual example of his description of what it would look like to cut the eave fully back and stack the trim as one option. To get the eve encroachment out of the easement area. And then option 3 on the next slide is sort of a combination of reducing the eve along Locust Street there, in this case to about 6 inches, and then moving the structure the balance of that distance southward. So these are the options that the applicant presented, and that requires some changes to the conditions of approval for the original decision. Staff recommend that the Historic Review Board provide direction on how best to modify the conditions of approval to resolve the issue. As I said before, option 1 is to move the structure south, 18 inches closer to the historic landmark. Option 2 is to cut the eave fully back so that there's no encroachment with the building in its currently proposed position, and modify condition 3 of the conditions of approval. And then option 3 is a combination of the two, moving the structure and reducing the eave desired amount. This would require the addition of a 14th condition to the original approval and a modification of condition 3. So we request the Historic Review Board's direction on the most appropriate modification to resolve the issue. You have several options: provide direction to staff on the preferred modification to the conditions of approval, approve the proposal with other modified conditions and provide revised findings, deny the proposal and provide revised findings, or continue the hearing and request more information.
Okay, any board members have a question for the staff?
No.
All right, so do we have the applicant here then? All right, go ahead and come on up and state your name and city of residence, if you could, to start, and then fill us in if you have preferences and why you, the basis of your preferences, what you would like to see.
Jared Colton from Oregon City. So I think as Jude explained, the previous owner, they put together the whole plan originally, and it was turnkey. We were ready to get permits, and I checked with all the different city departments, Public Works. And then after we had bought the property, Patrick at Public Works was compiling all the prices, and that's when he found out that overhang was, and it's just the gable on the north side that overhangs that gas line easement. And so that's at the point where Jude helped us determine, what we would have to do to comply. In my opinion, moving it back 18 inches is fine by me. That way we can keep the overhang looking the same. But at this point, I'm really, whatever works for everybody else, I just want to build.
Okay, any questions for the applicant?
No.
No. Chair Powell, any questions?
No, I don't have any of the applicant, for the applicant. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. And we do have one comment. So we'll excuse you for now, and we'll ask Carla Laws to come and share her comment.
Carla Laws, Oregon City, also Elyville Neighborhood Chair. I'm just, gosh, that's loud. Okay, sounds great, thank you. I haven't used this one since the change, so thank you. So we're excited that the designs stayed the same pretty much. We're excited, our neighborhood, before we made a presentation about affordable housing, that's kind of why our neighborhood established to begin with was affordable housing. We were houses for the paper mill back, late 1800s, early 1900s. That's how our neighborhood started, for workers at the paper mill. So it's exciting that these plans are going forward. The only thing I could say is I love the distance that this is going to be from the historic home and the neighbors, so that this doesn't look like a gigantic condo, which is fantastic, and that it looks like its own individual structure, that it matches the historic home as much as possible, and hopefully it can be affordable so that the owner can save as much as they can to build. The only thing I would hope for, and it doesn't sound like maybe it's possible because of the easement, would be hopeful to have a little bit more of a covered, porch in the front, but, at least it has one. But overall, by what we've read and what we've seen, it's really encouraging. So I know neighbors in the neighborhood are concerned about parking overall, but it seems like for what's being offered, I think this developer is doing the best with what they can. So if, I know the neighbors are concerned about it, so they want to keep that in mind, that'd be fantastic. And I appreciate your time, and I appreciate all of you volunteering, so thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So, any other public comment? Anybody? That's the only comment card I've got, so no other public comment? All right, we'll close the record then and go to deliberations. Why don't we start with Chair Powell, maybe again, your thoughts on this one?
Well, I kind of like the idea of keeping the 13, or keeping the setback from the Rasmussen-Buol house where it is. You guys as builders have a better idea of losing that 18 inches on the gable and how that would look overall in the scheme of things. From the picture, it looked okay to me, but I know we had a long discussion about that about that 18 inches. So and most of that came from you guys. So my first impression was leave the setback the way it is and take the 18 inches off the gable. But I'll leave it to you guys to discuss that as well.
That's why we have a committee.
Exactly.
So let's start over here with Board Member Fulkerson.
I lean toward agreeing with what was previously said, to try to keep the setback from the original build. It seems like when I pulled up the form for the build, the historic inventory form, one of the things that made that property significant was its corner lot and the size of that lot. So I lean toward, giving any sort of breathing room that we can. I mean, that seems appropriate to respect the existing building. And I don't want to say it too prematurely, but I lean toward option 3 as well, that you presented. So, but I'll leave that for you all to discuss too.
Got a committee.
Yeah.
To clarify, option 3, Board Member Fulkerson, option 3 is a combination of moving the structure and reducing the eave. Option 2 would be the one to eliminate the eave.
Oh, okay.
Just for clarification.
So you're
Okay.
option 2 then.
Well, I think, option 2 is a little problematic because it is a corner lot and you see the building from both sides. So, yeah, let's discuss it before I give too much of my opinion on it.
Go ahead.
Well, I'm leaning towards not changing the gables as much as trying to, if there's a way we can reposition the house itself to not where the fine line between the gas lines, but if we can set it back, if the house can be set back without invading into the Buol house, I like the design is appropriate with the eaves of the way they are. So trying to keep it the least amount of modification to the house.
Staff, just a question, and I know it's here, but with the current approval, what's the distance between the two buildings? Do you have that there?
The proposed distance with the current approval is 14.5 feet. Moving the structure, to be clear, the easement would reduce it to 13 feet.
Okay, so we would bring it to 13 feet between the two buildings. versus 14 and a half feet, the way it's currently approved. And it does set back further from Molalla than the landmark house. So just to clarify that. So Board Member Lawrence?
I don't know how to address this and be civil. I think it's ridiculous that we're talking about this.
Okay.
There's a gas line underground,
Yeah.
there's a gable overhead,
Yeah.
and that's encroaching on the gas line.
Yeah.
I think this is nonsense, and I think that we should not be talking about it. I think that,
position is noted.
I think that a stacked,
Your position is noted and shared.
I think that a stacked gable is fine. I think that moving that, this is also across the street from Plaid Pantry. So, in context, I think that building a beautiful building next to a historic home is more important than whether or not there's a 18-inch gable, a 6-inch gable, a zero-sum gable. I think that what we're talking about is a zero-sum gratis here. I think that we make it the path of least resistance to move forward with building the structure, creating sustainable and affordable housing in Oregon City, and not getting in the way or hindering anymore being able to, move forward with this project. That's where I stand on it.
I'm kind of in concurrence with Board Member Edgar. I hate to see the architecture compromised because I think they did a good job in coming back to us with their refined product that they had originally proposed. This was much better. And the way it's shown is with corbels underneath the gable overhangs, which I'm sure are intended to be there as shown. So I don't see it being meritorious to go partway, to move it partway and cut it back partway, because now if you've got a 12-inch gable overhang, the corbels are out of proportion and inappropriate. So, I see it as kind of a no-go or no-go situation, and from my perspective, I would value the integrity of the architecture, I think, over the setback.
I agree.
I think that would be more noticeable to the passerby, the compromised architecture, than a little closer spacing to the historic landmark. Does that make sense? Particularly in that it's set back from Molalla Avenue, so you still do have a corner exposure for the landmark house. And I'd like to go back to Chair Powell. You've heard some of our comments. We're a little bit all over the map here.
Well, I guess I agree with you about either move the building or cut the gable. I mean, I don't think you can, because if you want to keep the architecture, you're not going to want to split this thing and move the building 6 inches and move the gable 12 inches. I don't think it makes sense. So I guess we need to decide either whether it's okay to move the building 18 inches closer to the Rasmussen house or whether we take the gable off.
Yeah.
That's where I think it comes down to. So again, my feeling is I like it's only 18 inches. So I could live with moving the building closer to the Rasmussen house. That's not my number one, goal. I'd rather keep the setback, but to move this forward, I'm certainly willing to look at that 18 inches, more closer to the Rasmussen house. And I mean, we talked a lot about that gable when we were talking about this. So I know it's important. So I'm willing to acquiesce to that.
Well, I agree.
would second that.
Did you talk?
I agree. Let's move, 18 inches is not a big deal in this case. It's the least detracting.
Did you talk about that specific north eave and gable in
No,
that?
we didn't, because we didn't realize that there was an encroachment there. But we did have a discussion of the overhangs in particular. The Landmark House has wider eave overhangs, probably 3-foot overhangs and maybe 2-foot gable overhangs. And kind of the consensus we came up with was we want a little bit of that same proportion. It probably wouldn't be appropriate to go like those large of overhangs, but keeping that proportion. So we came up with a condition of approval of 24-inch eave overhangs and 18-inch gable overhangs, and then incorporating the corbels on the gable overhangs. So if we cut the gable overhangs off on that one gable, then that presents a different look there. We lose the corbels and so forth. And
Is it option 1 or 3?
What is the, I can't really hold the options
Well,
up.
I move that we adopt option 3. It's to move the duplex 18 inches towards the south of the property line, which would allow the full 18-inch overhang at the gable and wall. This would still leave the 8-foot setback from the property line. Since the biggest move on the lot, we have these setbacks in application.
I second it.
okay, we have a first motion and a second.
Can I just clarify? I thought option 3 was a combination.
Right.
That's why I was looking for the options, and I was wondering
Eve
about
reduction, and so you don't want to reduce the eve, though. You want the eve to stay the same and
We
to
want
move it
the
closer to the
eve to
older
stay
home.
the
Yeah, to
same.
move the
So
duplex
that's-
18 inches towards the south of the
think that-
property,
So that's
which would
option
allow the
one.
full 18
Option
inch.
1.
That's option
Oh,
one.
okay,
yeah.
sorry,
Okay.
thank you.
Option 1.
Option 1.
Okay, so,
Now I move for option 1.
okay,
I second option
all
1.
right. We've got that clarified. We have a motion and a second, so call roll.
Board Member Lawrence,
Aye.
Board Member Edgar,
Aye.
Board Member Fulkerson. Aye. Vice Chair Green,
Aye.
Chair Powell.
Aye.
Okay,
All right, yep, so motion passes.
the motion passes.
Thank you, Vice Chair and Board.
Right.
Thank you.
Communications.
So attached to your agenda as the 2024 HRB accomplishments, and I apologize, when the agenda was formatting, it turned all my notes into 2 columns. So if you open up my staff report under communications, you'll see that it's under columns, so apologize for that. But the board, I identified, oh, I can wait.
Had a little computer struggle,
Oh,
sorry.
yeah, that's fine.
I'm sorry, can I interrupt?
Yeah.
Rereading this, I still think that it's option 3. Option 1 is remove the overhang on one affected gable that is approximately 15 feet long. A similar look can be attained by stacking the roof edge trim boards. That's not what we're adopting.
No, that's not what we want.
We want option 3, which is move the duplex 18 inches towards the south of the property line, which would allow the full 18-inch overhang at the gable end wall.
This great catch. We can do a new motion right now while we're at the meeting.
Okay,
Okay, wait.
So we're going to hold on.
Maybe we should take a second just to read through them.
yeah.
The options were reversed in order.
Oh, okay.
In
I was
the,
like, wait,
in the presentation
this
versus
is
the
not
staff
what we're
report.
saying.
That was my mistake.
So I think what you can do is don't use numbers. In your motion, identify what you want.
Board Member Lawrence, I motion to move the duplex 18 inches towards the south of the property line, which would allow the full 18-inch overhang at the same gable and wall. This would still leave an 8-foot setback from the property line. Since this is the biggest move on the lot, we have used these setbacks for the application.
And I second that.
We have a motion and a second, so call roll.
Board Member Lawrence,
Aye.
Board Member Edgar,
Aye.
Board Member Fulkerson,
Aye.
Vice Chair Green,
Aye.
Chair Powell.
I still say aye.
Good catch, thank you.
Thank
Sorry,
you.
I was reading it, I was like, that's not what I'm saying.
I couldn't find it.
This does not mean that the eve is stacking though, right?
No.
Okay, got it.
I think that there was,
Agreed.
the numbers in the staff report in the presentation, they were just flipped.
Okay.
So it's fine. It's,
Sorry, I was
and,
reading it. That's not what I
yeah.
meant.
It was my
No,
mistake.
Yeah.
I think that's why originally I was like, option 3 is what I, sorry. I should have caught that.
No.
before.
So anyway, attached to your agenda is our 2024 highlights. And once again, I apologize, for some reason it formatted as 2 columns. So you might have to work with me as we read down. But every year, the board kind of goes over the accomplishments of the year past, and then the chair and maybe vice chair, or basically an appointed person, comes to the city commission to give an overview at one of their meetings. In my staff report, I identified it as the March 19th meeting that was pushed. And so it's April 2nd, city commission meeting is when we're scheduled. And really it is kind of like 5 to 10 minutes at the beginning of the meeting, kind of talk about what the board did this year, our goals, you know, what we're thinking. And then it's just to get a chance for the city commission to reach out to all of its boards and committees and just get a handle on this. We are finishing up our 2023-2025 work plan. So attached to this document, I had made notations and I've updated it based on our work to date. So we don't actually have any additional big ticket work plan items. We are finishing it out. So the compatible change and the window project are our last 2 big projects. We will be looking at putting together a new 2-year work plan this summer. So start thinking as we move forward, kind of July 1, August, we would be adopting a new 2-year work plan.
So currently we're working on windows, and where are we at with solar right now?
So the solar panel project was to not move forward and to then monitor. So one thing the board could choose to do is just to maybe have a tickler item in the next biennium work plan to keep monitoring it, and we could check in if that's something the board wants to do.
Okay. Any questions or? All right. Well, with
So
that.
I will reach out to Chair Powell if he's available on the April 2nd meeting to present. And if he's not available, then we can reach out to other board members.
Okay, and then you are going to email us some
The
follow-up.
questions, yep.
That we can respond to with our thoughts on the window.
Yep, so look for an email from me. So look for your email on your Oregon City email.
Yeah, I have to check that one.
And so check in your Oregon City email. Sometimes I send you just notifications of like agenda items, but no content should be outside of your Oregon City email. So you'll see it BCC'd, reply back to me. I will collect them and hand them to Christopher.
Okay.
I just wanted to check with Chair Powell real quick and the board that next week's McLaughlin District meeting, that myself and Chair Powell were going and nobody else was going to come?
Correct.
Because
Okay.
then it would,
Yeah.
Perfect.
So that was a good segue. So many of you who live in McLaughlin might have received a postcard in your mail the last couple weeks that has a link to the survey online for compatible change. Anybody in the city can take it, and we've been reaching out and doing, social media, and it'll be in this February or March's city e-trail news, and you can forward it on to anybody you know who's interested in taking it. Right now, I have about 65 responses, so I want a little bit more, but, they come in little drips and drabs. But what I will do, maybe work with Chair Powell to make sure it gets pushed out before the meeting next week, and I can put together a little blurb if that works. I don't know who has your working email list, Chair Powell, but
That would be us. We're doing that this week. We'll be sending that out again. We send it out on Facebook. We've also put it on our webpage, and we will be we'll be sending it out as a mail list this week sometime.
Okay, great. And so the goal is to have an open house from 6:15 to 7 at the library. before the McLaughlin Neighborhood Association meeting. People can come in, they can talk to board members. So Board Member Lawrence and Chair Powell, please show up at 6:15. And we will have some opportunities for people to comment, kind of the proverbial green dot exercise. People can, be able to leave more than just the survey. We'll also have opportunities for people to take the survey there. I'll have my computer. We also are going to be presenting at the McLaughlin neighborhood meeting as well. So we'll kind of have more of a Q&A at that meeting. At our March Historic Review Board meeting, what you're going to get is a tallying of the survey. It is stripped of people's names and informations, but for all the kind of yes/no questions, you'll get those answers, and then I am going to paste every reply. So you're going to get a pretty big exhibit of everybody's, raw answers. And so far, I'm kind of hearing a little bit from everybody. So you'll get that, and then really the March meeting kind of have that policy direction, a little bit kind of how we did tonight, big picture policy direction. And then based on what you hear from the survey, which we will close towards the end of March, but I'll probably keep it on the website all the way through this spring. So if people want to still provide comment, they can. And Kristen will come back in the April and May meetings with actual red line drafts for code.
So is there a concern if at the open house or, for instance, at the commission meeting, more than 2 board members happen to be there?
Yeah, we don't want 3, that's a quorum. So yeah.
So we can't just randomly show up to any of those. Obviously the McLaughlin meeting, it's going to be Chair Powell and
But the Q&A is off limits too, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the open house and McLaughlin are right back to back in the same room in the library. And so we just can't have more than.
Okay, so that's kind of a back-to-back.
We can't have 3 board
Okay,
members,
all right.
then it would be a meeting.
We'll get the feedback though from you.
Well,
go ahead.
You'll also be, it will be a simulcast in a Zoom that you can access.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
I would like to, I attended the Two Rivers Neighborhood Association meeting, and one of the issues that's coming up is on the courthouse and what is going to happen with the courthouse. And I have received calls where the discussion is of its historic importance, though it is not registered, is not on the list, but the degree of importance historically to Oregon City is high. And so I think it's something that we on the Historic Review Board should stay attuned to, because should it come down, what would we be asking to save? What would be responsible or to what the decision making? And I think that somewhere along the line, I think it's an important historic structure for Oregon City. And I just say, everyone hold your breath, think about it, be aware, but it's happening in front of us. And it may be something we'll have to comment on.
Let me add to that this is a situation that, from Chamber of Commerce, there's 3 different boards right now that have been looking at the courthouse. Some of these boards have already come and gone, actually, where they had a courthouse review, they had a courthouse board. There's works going on where they've been looking at the courthouse. There's been discussions about the courthouse with the county and at the county level. If what we're proposing is that the Historic Review Board would have a say or any kind of influence as to what happens with the courthouse, I think that we're late to the game. Because the courthouse, as of right now, with the county, is that it's outside of our purview. It's not a historic building. It's not a historic, structure, and we have no influence in any way, shape, or form over that. And there's already been a lot of motion on that forefront. So it's something that we would have to get, there's definitely avenues to digress into and to look at, but it's just, the motion's already moving so far forward from what we're talking about now.
But I know that it's moving, and I'm on the county's historic review board too. So it's something that,
Yeah.
but it's in the city.
My assumption, I guess, was your comment. I mean, our involvement as citizens, as private citizens,
Right.
is certainly important, but anything as far as functionally for the review board, it would not be our purview unless something
Yeah, it's
bubbles up that they bring to us.
more in the realm of, the
Yeah, citizen
nonprofits
involvement.
at this point.
Yeah, this really comes down to a county level decision, and the big thought right now is that it's going to be filled with boxes of things. So.
All right. Anything else from staff or? All right, we're adjourned. Thank you, folks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.